Hi there, my name's Larry. I'm the channel master for Gatekeeper50 Hotmail, and I'm checking out the Census 2010 site. Tomorrow is April 1st and it is Census Day. Last year I was appointed by the US Census Bureau to be an enumerator here on Vashon, and my job was to go out and verify the mailing addresses that the Census Bureau had on file for our local community. This year I was reappointed, and I am a Questionnaire Assistance Center representative at Vashon Library. There I answer questions and hand out forms to people that didn't get theirs in the mail because they only received mail at a post office box. So a couple of things we can do here on this particular site. Get ready for the census. You can check out some videos as to why the census is important. It is a constitutional requirement that we do a census so that we can determine how many representatives we need per state. We could also find out what our participation rate is. You can check participation rate of each individual community, and you can see here that the national rate is currently 52%. Then you can check out each of your communities, and by entering your zip code, you'll see that King County has a 50% participation rate, so we're just under the national.
Hello, I'm Director of the US Census Bureau. I'm coming to you today from the library of James Madison's home, one of the fathers of the US Constitution. Together with Thomas Jefferson, Madison made sure that enshrined in our Constitution was the requirement that every 10 years the new nation would conduct a census of the entire population of America. In fact, the library floor over here is stained with ink from when Madison wrote the first drafts of the Virginia Plan that later became our Constitution. I've devoted my professional career to the science of statistics, not history. Yet, being in this room profoundly reminds me of my own personal civic obligation to participate in the census and ensure we get it right. Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution requires that we conduct a census every 10 years to ensure the fair allocation of representatives in Congress. Thus, when we had the smallest of all federal governments, just 4 cabinet departments, War, Justice, Treasury, and State, even then, there was a census. That uniquely American idea was huge in world political history. For more than 2 centuries, it has been part of the fabric of this country. The American Constitution was the first to use a census to empower the people over their government instead of the other way around. As Secretary of State, Thomas Jefferson supervised the first U.S. Census in 1790. Then local federal marshals and their assistants went door to door asking 6 questions. Later, Jefferson reported to President George Washington a final count of fewer than 4 million people. Today, we've grown to a country of more than 300 million. But the 2010 census form is very much like the original one that Madison and Jefferson helped design for 1790. Just 10 questions that will take each household about 10 minutes to complete. By now, every household has received their form. It is, as we say, in your hands. This is our moment to express ourselves, to stand up and be counted, and help draw a new portrait of America. All of us at the Census Bureau are passionate about our role in this civic moment. Each of us is sworn for life to protect the confidentiality of your answers. The data we collect are used only to produce statistics for the common good. Please open the census envelope, fill out the simple form, and mail it back. Our founding fathers would be proud if in this moment we achieve what they too sought, a complete count of everyone in the country. To learn more about the census and the Constitution, please visit 2010census.gov. There you can examine the 2010 census form and compare it to the questions Madison helped write on the 1790 census.
And now let's go to MSNBC and see what they have to say about the US Census. Thanks a lot.
Have you sent yours back yet? Well, what are you waiting for? I mean, you're not the only one the government is urging to get to the mailbox with your completed census form this year. Turns out some people rather harder to convince than others. I'm joined now by Maria Teresa Kumar, Executive Director of Voto Latina and an MSNBC contributor. Let's talk about the community you know, the Latina community. Is there reluctance on the part of immigrants to the United States to fill out the census form?
For the last 5 years, because of a lot of what happened during the Bush administration, a lot of the ICE raids, folks that were here, either American citizens, residents, or undocumented, have felt a real backlash against being Latino here in the United States. So there's an incredible hurdle that organizations such as mine have actually tried to say, look, it's okay, it's safe to fill out the census. And part of it is because there's a lot of government distrust. But what folks don't realize is that once you fill out the census, it's basically sealed for 70 years, and you could actually have a federal fine if you actually leak that information. So over $250,000 and prison.
Is there a gap between the reality of what the census does and what their perception is that it does?
It's a misunderstanding. I think anytime government starts asking you how many people live in your household, they start asking any type of personal information, people feel a little queasy. Latinos, non-Latinos, blacks, Asians, whites, they all feel a little queasy. And this is an opportunity for folks to say, you know what, you pay millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Let it go back to your community. Fill out the census.
In fact, there is now a growing influence in the United States, especially from the Latino community, because they're a growing population. So when you're looking at that, what do you think the impact is if the Latino community is not fully counted?
I'll give you an example. In Los Angeles, in the last census, literally 700,000 people were missed. The majority of them were Latino. That's a congressional district. And all of a sudden, this census is particularly interesting. And I'm trying to make it sexy, Contessa, because I know I realize that it's not. But the reason it's interesting is that you have all of a sudden 8 states in the country that are going to win congressional seats and 11 states that are going to lose it. We're going to have a whole revamping of the electoral map as we know it.
Okay. Maria Teresa, nice to see you.